Greetings and welcome back to another Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer guide. Today we're going to be looking at the Krogan Mercenary, which is a kind of straightforward kit, if you will. This is what I would call the Weapon Master build. Very much focused on weapons, using weapons, dishing out damage, maximizing stability and accuracy with said weapons, as well as overall toughness. Now I do have a power-based build planned around the flamethrower and the flat cannon at some point in time, but that might take a while, and yeah, we'll just have to see about that. I definitely will do it at some point in time. But for today we're focusing on the Weapon Master build, and as I mentioned in the previous guide, my strategy is always to start with the bottom row to increase overall toughness. Now with the Krogan, and this is advice for all Krogans, although I've only really played extensively with the Krogan Engineer in addition to the Mercenary. I don't have the Gladiator, and I haven't really touched the Vanguard very much. I think one match. Nevertheless, I think, generally speaking, you need to spec this way. Once again, not prescriptive, my suggestion. This is self-evident, obviously. It doesn't require explanation. But we're going to go for the top tree here. The A tree, as it were. For a simple reason. This is going to increase your overall toughness. You will occasionally use melee with this build, but remember, you're focused mostly on using your weapons. And melee is what I would call a nice finisher offer that will give you that rage that you crave. You want Krogan Rage with the Krogan Mercenary and all other Krogan because it increases your toughness and survivability. So of course, you want more resilience, rank 4. The regeneration is fantastic. It gives you 100% health regeneration. No other kit or no other, I guess, race can do that, even with the stat bonus on the health regeneration cap. So that's really nice. And it gives you that health and shield regeneration reduction. Finally, I would argue this is the most important aspect of the Rage tree, and that is the automatic triggering of Rage at 33% health, coupled by more melee damage and duration, as well as one less melee kill, which means, a quick headbutt to an enemy with very low health will be sufficient to, or two of them rather, to get you into the Rage, which will keep you going for a while, and it lasts a lot longer. Normally it's 30 seconds, if I recall right, and so you have 45 seconds of Rage. That's plenty of time to get another kill usually. Absolutely essential. First thing you should spec into. Now, as I said in the previous video, I'm a big fan of passives, depending on obviously depending on what the kit or the character is. But in this guy's case, clearly the passives are awesome. A little bit disappointed with the crossover of munitions training across multiple kits, but it's the name of the game, I guess. But still, you can see just if rank 6, we'll get there, just fantastic bonuses. 18% extra weapon damage, extra power damage, more weapon capacity, better reload speed, bigger clip size, more weapon spare ammo, 20% headshot weak point bonus, more accuracy, more stability, and even more shotgun pellet spread reduction. So, as you can see, this is obvious how we're going to go about this here. We want the weapon damage as opposed to the power, and this would be a power-based build. We want the weapon damage. And shifting from those gears, we want the weapon efficiency, which means we want a faster reload speed. Many of you might have noticed in this game, in this iteration of Mass Effect multiplayer, reload speeds are just tremendously long on virtually every weapon. Even weapons with fairly good reload speeds, such as the Valiant. Quite a long time to reload, so any bonus you can get, especially on a weapon-based build, such as this one, is going to be of tremendous benefit to you. That's particularly true with those weapons that are just have insane reload times, from the snipers and what have you. Extra weapon clip size, that's always useful in conjunction with extended magazine, and we'll see later in the gameplay, as well as my weapon recommendations. The Revenant is key here, as well as the weapon spare ammo. Just a fantastic upgrade for any weapon-oriented character, and in particular for the Weapon Master Krogan Mercenary. And this is a tough choice, obviously, because, well, focusing fire on an enemy target causes them to take more damage from all sources. Well, yeah, that's really nice, but once again, this is somewhat dependent on your teammates sort of working together with you and, as it were, and doing ideally what they should do. And in pugs, that's kind of rough. In any event, this is the Weapon Master build, so we want things that are going to complement and augment our ability to use weapons, and this is perfect. The 20% extra headshot damage, weak point bonus, 25% weapon accuracy and stability, great for high recoil weapons like the Revenant, as well as the huge spread that weapon has, as well as shotgun pellet spread reduction. And I'll talk a little bit about shotguns in a bit. So we got this tree out of the way. Flat cannon is not my focus here. It's okay, but I don't think it's tremendous in any event. For a power-based build, however, it could have some benefit. More on that in a future guide. Finally, Fortify. Well, second to last, penultimate, Fortify. Well, Fortify just gives you that extra protection that you want. However, it does make you slow, and the Krogan is already very, very slow. You'll see in the gameplay video, the forthcoming gameplay video, that my slowness is very often my death trap. And I'll talk about the play style in a bit, but you obviously want the extra protection. I mean, you're supposed to be... The ideal of this build is that sometimes you're capping, sometimes you're on a run, but you want to be able to take that damage and dish it out at the same time. I wouldn't say this is, a build that just shreds. It doesn't do that. You're more of a sort of long endurance athlete, as it were. You're there for the long run. You're going to take out enemies with some pretty good weapon bonuses and good weapons. However, you're not going to take them out in an instant. You're an infiltrator, so you want that protection, obviously. Extra protection at rank 4. Here is kind of a conundrum, I think, was for a while for me, but almost for role-playing reasons. Well, here's the thing. This really is a huge benefit, the extra gun accuracy and stability, because if you're using a weapon like the Revenant, which I do frequently, and I'll recommend that in a bit, which has bad recoil and horrific spread, terrible accuracy, you combine this with your passive bonuses, we're talking about a 45% increase in accuracy and stability. So you're not going to feel any recoil anymore, and you're able to hit targets at a pretty long range. And finally, when you're bunkered down, it doesn't always happen, but when you're bunkered down, you want that extra damage resistance, and sometimes you're behind cover. It's just useful, and I would argue more useful than Explosive Purge, which could be reserved for a different build. Finally, Flamethrower, even though this is not a power-focused build, is still eminently useful, particularly against armored targets or unshielded targets to make them writhe in agony. So, self-explanatory, obviously. And because this isn't a power build, and even in a power build, I would argue you don't really need the recharge speed. Flamethrower, to the best of my knowledge, is based on how long you've used it. So if you're just sort of tapping it, it's not going to be a very long time. And this is much more situational with this build because you're basically 90% of the time, 80% of the time, firing your weapons. High damage or decent damage and high capacity weapons in terms of ammo capacity. So, you're going to use this occasionally when the situation comes up. And in this case, you want the extra damage. You want the damage over time, the dot, the extra duration. And finally, you want to be able to melt that armor, because there are a lot of tough armored targets out there. There are Krogan, for Outlaws, Hydras, the Ket have the Fiends, which can be really annoying, and the Remnants, of course, have the Destroyers. But just useful overall, situational, but still useful. That is the build. So let's get on to the weapons. Now, usually how I like to proceed when it comes to weapons, well, I think there are two basic options here. Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer has added the option of being able to carry two weapons of the same class, which would allow you to put on a booster for the appropriate weapon and boost both of them. Now, as you'll see in the video, I'm using the Revenant almost all the time. Occasionally, I will resort to the Thokin. Let me tell you why the Revenant is good on the Krogan soldier? Well, the damage is, well, not amazing, but I don't really think you need amazing damage necessarily. What the Revenant's all about is sustained fire, right? You know, you're just pounding away with as much damage as possible. And the rate of fire is decent. But what makes the Revenant special on the Krogan soldier, Krogan soldier, mercenary, he's been renamed, he used to be called the Krogan soldier, is the benefit you get from the power armor bonuses I mentioned in the passes, which add up to 45% extra stability and accuracy, along with an increase in the magazine size, as well as spare ammo. So that turns the Revenant into a real beast, because you're not just going to be shooting at the air and pellets firing everywhere. You're going to get even at fairly long distance range. I would say medium-ish, long medium-ish range. Still some pretty consistent shots at enemies. And of course, at short range, it's fine. It would be regardless. But a solid weapon choice for the Krogan Mercenary, my personal favorite. I'll talk about shotguns in a bit. And then, of course, you're not really worried about CD's cooldowns. You have a pretty good cooldown anyway because of your weight capacity. But as a backup, and I do use it as a backup, you know, you're going to be looking at the Thoken. Now, many of you might know, and I'll be talking about weapons in a separate guide. The Thoken is a very sort of streamlined, accurate assault rifle. It has a kind of wonky arc when you don't sort of focus, and then I prefer actually fire tapping it. But it's a really good sort of complementary. Every now and then, if your magazine is run dry in the Revenant, you might want to grab the Thoken and give it a shot and just fire it away. You might as well. Alternatively, you could just take a shotgun as a backup for, you know, CQC situations. But shotguns, I find in this game, lack power, and in situations that you'll see in the video, you need to keep your distance, especially against the Ket. You don't want to get too close, and shotguns just don't pack the punch you need, at least with the Krogan Mercenary. I can't really comment on the Vanguard Krogan Mercenary Engineer, where you're going to be running around with a shotgun and benefit from it. However, I think shotguns are pretty good against remnants and quite good against the outlaws, and depending on the size of the map, that might affect your decision. So as far as shotguns are concerned for the Krogan Mercenary, what I like is the combination of the Piranha and the Hesh. The Hesh is actually very, very powerful, and it's got a very nice rate of fire, and combine that with you can see the rate of fire. I think it technically has more DPS than the Piranha, just because the rate of fire is superior. Really nice shotgun. So you might want to take both of these on a small map against the outlaws. I wouldn't recommend shotguns against Ket, though, in my personal experience having tried that out. It didn't work nearly as well as ARs. And the scatter shot is pretty useful too. The huge advantage of the scatter shot, in addition to its better accuracy than most shotguns, is you're not relying on a clip, running back, reloading. You just need to let it cool off a bit. And the damage is okay. It's not amazing. However, on the Krogan Mercenary, it's quite efficient. These would be the weapon choices I would recommend. Maybe you have your own preference on assault rifles. I want to make a separate guide and overview on weapons, so I don't want to talk too much about them. So those would be my recommendations for that. And you know, as far as boosts are concerned, yeah, I mean, if you're leveling up, obviously you want the XP. The Revenant is pretty nice, but you want to add some damage, some punch, if you're going to be using an assault rifle. This helps quite a bit. And then, you know, alternatively, you might want to have a cyclonic mod to help you deal with damage or receive damage. Different ammo types might be useful, or alternatively, of course, you could take a targeting mod, which will give you better headshot damage. All really useful in conjunction with this build. And last but not least, colors, man. Colors are important, so I like the sort of camouflage black and red myself. Anyway, that would be the Krogan Mercenary as I've spec'd him, the Weapon Master build. There will be some Weapon Master Krogan Mercenary in action pretty soon in an upload. It's already been recorded, I just need to render it and upload it. And I will see you soon for the next guide in Mass Effect Andromeda multiplayer. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subbed, it would be nice if you did for more Mass Effect Andromeda guides, and I will check you out later. Everyone, take care and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.